Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this video, we will present poverty alleviation, contribution of zakat and sadaqah. To begin, let me link SDG 8 to zakat and sadaqah. SDG 8 promotes sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for everyone. Zakat provides financial support for this purpose, reducing poverty and increasing economic opportunities for individuals and communities. Zakat can also fund infrastructure and social services like education and healthcare, which can boost economic growth over time. Zakat's values, fairness, justice, and compassion, align with SDG 8 and the SDG agenda of sustainable development for all. SDG 8 and Sadaqah, charity, share the goal of improving economic well-being and livelihoods. Sadaqah fulfills one's duty to help the needy and promote social justice. SDG 8 and Sadaqah both aim to reduce economic inequality and help neglected and vulnerable populations. SDG 8 promotes economic growth and opportunity through systemic solutions, but Sadaqah can help needy individuals and families immediately. Now for this part of this documentary, we are going to discuss the 5 important questions that we have come out as a group regarding how zakat and sadaqah can contribute to alleviate the issue of poverty. First question is, why is it important to eliminate wealth concentration according to Islam? Is it because wealth concentration is bad? Well, the answer to that question is yes. But how can it be so detrimental to such a level that we are having a discussion about it? In order to know why, we need to set up a clear foundation or have a basic knowledge about wealth distribution, especially from the Islamic perspective. You see, compared to capitalists' and socialists' concept of wealth distribution, Islam can be seen to have a more sophisticated system where it acknowledges the importance of functional distribution, but at the same time taking care of the poor's welfare. To be exact, from Islamic point of view, there are 2 types of people that have the right to obtain wealth: those who have primary rights and those who have secondary rights. The former are the people that directly participate in the production, or in a much simpler term, the workers, while the latter are people that do not directly participate in productions, but have been obligated to join in the wealth of the producer. Not just that, these distinctions in Islamic wealth distribution are important to achieve 3 things, which are: first, eliminating wealth concentration; second, establishing a sustainable economy; and lastly, to permit everyone to obtain what is due to him. Eliminating wealth concentration. Islam considers that wealth should not be concentrated in a few hands, but instead it should be circulated in society to make sure the gap between the rich and the poor can be lessened. Of course, it is undeniably impossible to eliminate it totally. However, we can diminish it to the point where it is the most practical. Aside from that, Islam also prohibits the act of hoarding the natural wealth and enjoined every members in the society to, together, take the benefits from it. Conclusively, Islam recognizes that humans use their energy and resources in order to produce the output, thus have the right to own the wealth, as well emphasizing that everyone has their own portion. Furthermore, the rules and regulations are necessary to make sure that there is no monopoly on wealth in order to make sure the economy is running efficiently and closing the disparity in the quality of life among the classes in the society. Second, what is zakat and sadaqah, and is there any difference between both? First, must know the definition of zakat and sadaqah. Zakat is an act of worship where a Muslim has to give a proportion of his wealth to those in need. Zakat also has been stipulated as one of the pillars of Islam, thus becoming an obligation that every Muslim has to follow. If you read the Quran, the word zakat will almost always be accompanied by the word salah, further cementing it as a responsibility. Fun fact, the word zakat can be literally translated as purify. In a way, we can see zakat as a means to purify our wealth from any element of doubt and cleanse ourselves from being greedy. Zakat in itself is a unique act, because most ibadah we do for the sake of Allah and Allah only. But zakat is more than that, because it is performed in order to link the human with one another, and to strengthen the spirit of brotherhood. Zakat can be categorized into 2 types, zakat fitra and zakat on wealth. The first type is a type of zakat that needs to be paid out in the month of Ramadan according to the required amount. This is the compulsory zakat that every capable man needs to perform, or else he will get the punishment from Allah. The next zakat can be simply understood as a portion that a person has to give out according to the type of wealth he owns. There are zakat on agriculture, gold and silver, livestock, and salary. Meanwhile, sadaqah is a gift that we offer to someone for the sake of getting the blessing of Allah. Much differ from zakat, sadaqah is not an obligatory act, it is just a sunnah and voluntary act of kindness. In order for a Muslim to truly get the blessing from giving out sadaqah, he must solely do it for the sake of Allah and not to get any recognition from humans. One of the lesser-known facts about sadaqah is it has its own pillar and requirements that Muslims have to meet. First pillar is donor, they need to be matured and aql. Second pillar is recipient, there is no prerequisite to become a recipient. And the last pillar is donated property, the property must be owned by the donor. Third question is, what is the differences between zakat and sadaqah? Zakat is an act of worship that must be performed by every Muslim, especially in the month of Ramadan, and those who disobey it will receive the divine punishment. While sadaqah is a voluntary charity that everyone can choose whether they want to do it or not. Those who do not do it will not get anything, but those who do it for the sake of Allah will be granted the blessings from Him. The property that needs to be given out for zakat is very specific and has its own amount according to the type of wealth that the person has. As an example, in Selangor, Malaysia, the amount that a Muslim has to pay for zakat fitra is Rm7 for each person in the household. For sadaqah, you can give anything as long as it is beneficial for the recipient and brings happiness to them. It can be money, food, shelter, or even a warm smile. The zakat you give out will go through an intermediary before it goes to the needy. During Ramadan, representatives from each zakat institution in the state will collect the payment and the accumulated amount then will be managed by the said institution, such as Selangor Zakat Institution. They will find the needy person around the area the zakat was collected and will be spread systemically. However, sadaqah you don't have to go through any middleman, you can just simply give it directly to the people in need. Now we are going to talk about who can receive zakat and sadaqah. We will start with zakat first as it has a very specific group of people that can accept the zakat. According to Surah At-Tawbah verse 60, there are 8 categories that are eligible for zakat. The first 2 are the poor and the needy. Although they might look similar, in reality, there is a clear indication to differentiate them both. The poor are the people that do not have any sources of income or wealth and they cannot cover 50% of their necessities. Meanwhile, the needy are those that have jobs and income, but barely cover their necessities. The next group is the amil, or the ones who are responsible for collecting the zakat. They are entitled to the fund because they manage the operation of zakat from start to end, thus making them have a significant role in the implementation of zakat. Aside from them, mu'allaf also can receive zakat due to the fact that we hope from receiving zakat, they will fall in love more with Islam and will give their 100% to commit to Islam. Next one is the slaves and captives. Traditionally, they will not directly receive the money, but the zakat will be used to buy them and free them from being a slave. It can also be applied to indentured slaves where they will receive the money until they can settle their debt and become a free man. In addition, a person who suffers from debt or debt-ridden is considered as a snaf and they will receive a sum of money to relieve them from their debt. Lastly, the 2 remaining asnaf are those who fight in the name of Allah, fi sabilillah, and wayfarer, ibn sabil. The people who perform jihad are able to get zakat, even if they are well off, because they have given their all in effort to spread the message of Allah and His Prophet and protect His religion. They have the noblest contributions among the Muslim. Meanwhile, wayfarers are those who travel to another country or place that is far away, and then spend all of their money on their journey. Since they are in a place that is foreign to them, naturally they lose their resources for income and not everyone will assist them. Thus, because of this reason, they are qualified to accept zakat. Anyone can give or receive sadaqah. Usually, sadaqah is given to people who are poor or less fortunate. If you see here, sadaqah is not that much different from zakat as both of them were given to the poor. But for sadaqah, it goes much bigger than helping the poor, it can be more, from helping the poor to helping orphans in need to helping Muslims in need. One of the ways the zakat institution contributes in helping to attain a healthy socio-economy is by encouraging people to pay the zakat. There have been numerous campaigns that they launched in order to get people attracted or feel the responsibility to pay zakat. Among the strategies are as follow. First, year-end zakat campaign. One of the campaigns created by Iium on November 16, 2020, with the goal of spreading new information about the new zakat payment facility, and to encourage the people to pay their zakat before the end of the year. Here is the list of the program in the campaign. Second, Jam Jadi Zakat Sahabat Program. A collaboration with a renowned company in Malaysia, Touch and Go Bearhead, in order to reach a wider audience about zakat, especially around the Federal Territory, Putrajaya, and Labuan. By signing to be a Sahabat Zakat, they have easier access to pay the zakat and get to learn new knowledge about that particular pillar of Islam. How do zakat and sadaqah alleviate poverty? The main purpose of zakat is to help the poor and needy by making their lives better. With a raise in pay, they should be able to make enough money to live and take care of their basic needs. So, if the zakat system is run right, it should be able to help the poor and needy get out of poverty. In order for zakat to be an effective way to get rid of poverty, it must be given out in the most accurate way possible. The well-being of the community is helped more by voluntary almsgiving than by required almsgiving. This is because required almsgiving, zakat, is a minimum tax that Muslims must pay on their property. The effect isn't as good as when people give money to charity on their own, where there are no minimum or maximum amounts. It all depends on how sincere the person is. It can be done anywhere, at any time, and can be aimed at the public as a whole. Remember that God has tied our duty as Muslims to fight poverty worldwide, especially in our own country, to our yearning for pure faith. We must fight our spirits by giving away our most prized possessions to trust in the one and only God with all our hearts. Zakat allows Muslims to support underprivileged people globally and locally. Sadaqah, even if little and transient, indirectly aids its recipient. The Quran and Prophet, PBUH, have made it clear that we can only achieve this responsibility God has given the Muslim community if we all do sadaqah and zakat together. Allah said in Surah Al-Imran verse 91, "Never shall you attain the virtue of true faith until you spend in charity from that which you love. And anything you spend, indeed, God is all-knowing of it." The Quran states that true faith goes beyond saying and doing the proper things. True holiness and faith means having the right beliefs and sharing God's best with others. God links faith, worship, and proof. The Quran repeats that the 5 daily prayers and zakat are almost linked.